Hello and welcome to another episode of the Crimson Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Balian, alongside Jack Martin, Julian Bonk, and Andrew Tropp. Guys, we're approaching the Super Bowl. It's just a couple days away now. Super Bowl 60, Patriots and Seahawks, a rematch from a couple years ago. Let's start with the Patriots. In my opinion, a really easy road to the Super Bowl. They didn't play a really good quarterback in the playoffs at all. Playoff Justin Herbert, don't even get me started. CJ Stroud has not done a single thing since his rookie season, and of course, they played Jared Stidham. I get they played some tough defenses. Maybe you could make an argument for LA. I know Houston had a really good defense. So did the Broncos. But overall, the Patriots offense didn't carry them. They're in the Super Bowl because of what their defense has done throughout this playoff run.
And the opposite can be said for the Seahawks. I mean, I understand that their defense was great throughout the regular season, but they allowed almost 500 yards against the Rams last week, or a week and a half ago. And honestly, in my opinion, they shouldn't have even won that game. I think the special teams miscue on the Rams' part and a few other calls that went against them. I think the Rams really had a great shot to win that game. And I think that, well, the Seahawks are huge favorites on paper, obviously, with the doubts of the Patriots. I mean, maybe not huge favorites, but definitely everyone's betting against the Patriots in this game. I would say that the Patriots do have a better shot than most people think they do.
Yeah, I don't think that's ridiculous to say. I think the major concern, and Ben was touching on this, not just in the playoffs, their lack of difficult scheduling and having a tough path, but in the regular season they had the easiest strength of schedule. They really, the only great team that they faced and I think played pretty well against was that first matchup against the Bills early, week 2 or 3 or something like that. I have never been impressed by this Patriots team.
No.
I don't think they're very special. I think they got a cakewalk of a playoff run in which they did not have to face any of the top 4 quarterbacks in the AFC. And you can say that about everyone else, but the fact of the matter is this is a weak representation of the AFC. I think maybe the worst Super Bowl team out of the AFC in a long time.
Yeah. The argument I'll make against the weak strength of schedule in the regular season, that's just the Patriots benefiting from going 4-13 the past 2 seasons, so now them going 13-4. So that's going to happen naturally. But in the postseason, like you said, they've had an absolute cakewalk. So I just don't think they're good enough at any aspect of the game to beat the Seahawks. Maybe you want to make the argument that Drake May is better than Sam Darnold. Okay, well then the Seahawks receiving room is 10 times better than the Patriots. The combination of Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rashid Shaheed, those guys just outmatch the Patriots so heavily. I mean, it's Stephon Diggs and who else? Kayshon Boutte for the Patriots? What are we doing here?
You don't think Christian Gonzalez is having a big game against JSN?
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
You guys are talking a lot about strength of schedule. I don't think it's everything, right? They clearly have not played good teams. That does not discount them from having a very solid defense, which we saw in all 3 of those games versus LA, versus Houston, and then versus the Broncos. Obviously, you're not playing great quarterbacks, so nonetheless, the defense was swarming. And you have Mike Vrabel, a defensive-minded coach, who's there. He knows what to do. He's a very, very good coach, right? He, I'm sure, has some sort of game plan to stop Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. Whether he's going to be able to execute it, I don't know. But you can't only look at the strength of schedule at Drake May, perennial MVP. Or not, that's the wrong word, sorry. Possible MVP, yes.
MVP candidate.
He's still a very good player. You can't only look at the strength of schedule, is all I'm saying.
I think it's so important though to be prepared for this big game. And if you're Seattle just went toe-to-toe with the Rams, which you said, and it was a close game. Maybe the Rams, outplayed them offensively and maybe also defensively. But at the end of the day, special teams is a factor, right? And Seattle has, I think, one of the best special teams units in the league. A great punter, the most dynamic return man, I think, in the entire NFL with Rashid Shaheed. That's a part of the game, and that's going to be important in the playoffs. Once you get to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl, those tiny little things like special teams become even more and more important. And I think that might honestly just be the thing that puts Seattle over the edge over a team like the Patriots. And as I was saying earlier, just I don't think the Patriots are prepared. They have not had this type of game yet this year where it's wow, this team is really good. We're going to have to play our absolute best, which they didn't play their absolute best against Denver. Their only touchdown came after a backwards pass by Jarrett Stidham at the 10, setting them up for an automatic touchdown. I'm not impressed by New England. I don't think they're battle proven. I don't think they're ready, and I think they're going to get blown out of the water.
I got two things to add to that. I'll start with that game against the Broncos. There's a world where the Broncos could have won that game with Jarrett Stidham. If he didn't make that backwards pass, I don't even know what to call it. And that turns into the only Patriot touchdown. If Sean Payton kicked the field goal on the 35-yard line early on in the second quarter instead of going forward on 4th and 4 with Jarrett Stidham, that's a huge swing in the game. I mean, there were opportunities that presented themselves for the Broncos, and Denver just wasn't able to take advantage. And what I'll add about the strength of schedule is that the Patriots really did play two big games in the regular season, both divisional games against the Buffalo Bills. You want to say they played well in the one early in the season? Fine. It's early in the season. Buffalo had a down year this year. They were still trying to get their footing. But then the second one, back in Foxborough, Buffalo was on a roll, and the Patriots allowed a huge comeback. So even though they had a good win against Buffalo, they negated all of that with that terrible loss.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this earlier in the wild card preview. We had the Panthers and the Rams, and we were talking about how the Panthers, how we talked about they should get rid of divisions and all that, and how they were a losing record team making the playoffs, and the Rams would blow them out of the water. That was not the case at all. The Panthers had a legit shot to win that game, and I think that there might be a similar storyline here in the sense that the Seahawks are thinking, everybody in the media is saying that we're going to blow out the Patriots. They've had an awful schedule. They haven't played anybody good like we've been saying. I think that could make them a little passive when they're playing against the Patriots and thinking that this would be an easy win for us. And I think that could end up backfiring. I'm not saying that that's the reason why the Patriots are to win this game, but I think that the Seahawks might be underestimating them just a little bit.
The argument I'll make against that is that it's a Super Bowl, and no matter what the media is saying and whoever's on the other side, you recognize that this is the big game, and you're going to be prepared and take it as serious as possible, regardless of any other factors.
I want to go back. You touched on that Broncos game, right? And it was a very low-scoring game. It was a hard-fought battle. If you're taking that Seahawks-Rams game and you're putting it in that environment and that weather, I'm not saying that, it would have been drastically different, or not drastically different, but do you not think the weather had an impact on the game plan for both teams,
the
right?
Half was fine.
The first half was
but
fine.
the second half,
They were 14 points combined or whatever it was.
you're still massively running the ball, right? Drake May was not given a ton of chances to throw the ball, if I'm mistaken, right? He's not.
True. Yeah.
If you're putting him in environments, so they're both going to San Francisco now, warmer weather. Drake May is going to have that opportunity to showcase his arm talent, and he's clearly one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I feel you guys are just totally discounting the Patriots.
But I think you're forgetting the first half where Drake May had 55 passing yards on almost a sub 50% completion percentage. He didn't show up when the weather was fine, and he showed up even less when the weather was bad. And you got to learn how to deal with that. Those difficulties in playoff games, you got to deal with it. And what I saw out of the head coaching staff and the coaching staff of the Patriots was no trust whatsoever in Drake May once the weather got nasty, and once it was something that he was not prepared for. I don't know.
He also plays in Foxborough, where the weather might not be as bad as it was that day in Denver, but he should be prepared to play in those weather games, being that he plays in New England, where it's not uncommon to have bad weather games like that.
He made that run at the end of the game, which I will give him credit for. That was a great play out of the pocket to steal that win. I think he made good plays with the legs, but as you guys were saying, he was not great through the air. But I do think that the regular season should not be discounted. And the fact that he threw for whatever he threw for and is in the MVP conversation, he can have a huge game against the Seahawks defense. We've seen his talent this year, so I think that it's not off the table by any means.
There's a couple things that I think can go wrong for the Seahawks and that the Patriots really have to take advantage of. Seattle has been prone to get off to hot starts, at least in the second half of the year. So if New England can hang around and stick tight with them into the halftime and even coming out in the third quarter, they've got to be ready to make that move. They've got to jump out to the early start so they get ahead of the Seahawks. Then you're riding high, you've got the mojo, you got the morale going, and on the other side on it, it's like, man, what just happened? We're supposed to come in here and win, but all of a sudden we're down 10 points. I don't think that's going to happen, but it definitely can just based on watching what Seattle's done. The other thing I think can go wrong is Sam Darnold. Obviously, he's revitalized his career after a rough start with the Jets. He's bounced around for a while, but the last 2 years with the Vikings and now with the Seahawks, he has turned into a heck of a player, man. But I do think there's always the possibility of him reverting to old Sam Darnold and throwing a pick or two in the first half and having big plays that go against his team. Overall, though, I think the Seahawks will be able to overcome that because Mike McDonald, tremendous head coach, has Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Gainwell in his back pocket at any given time.
Not Charbonnet. He's out.
Charbonnet's out, and it's not Gainwell, it's Walker.
That's why
but
I always get those confused.
I think, and I think to that point, if Seattle, I think, wants to be able to take control of this game early, we see it time and time again in the playoffs. I've said it all year about the Bears. Not talking about the Bears, talking about the Seahawks. Run the ball early, all right? Kenneth Walker is unbelievable when he is the lead back. We've seen it the last few weeks. 100-plus yards, I think both playoff games, if I'm not mistaken. Touchdowns galore, a receiving threat. Get Sam Darnold comfortable, and I think that, that's all you need. Run the ball. Trust your offensive line. Trust Kenneth Walker. Open up the play action and make Sam Darnold as comfortable as possible so that nightmare scenario doesn't happen where the Patriots jump off to an early lead and Sam Darnold has to panic again.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I think we're getting towards the end of this episode. Why don't we make some Super Bowl 60 predictions? Andrew, we'll start with you.
Give me Seattle 38-17. Wow. Their last touchdown of the game comes as a pass on the goal line to stop the curse, to end the curse of the Malcolm Butler pick six. Give me Seattle by a bunch, and they're going to get a little petty at the end of the game there.
All right, I'm thinking along the same line. Seattle 35-17 was the number I had in my head. Like I said, I just don't think there's an area of the game where the Patriots are better by a wide enough margin to really affect the outcome of the game. And I think it's going to be a game where it's very close on paper. I know 35-17 is kind of a wide score disparity, but I think if you look at the box score and even into late in the fourth quarter, it's going to be a close game, but it's one of those games where you're watching it and it's like, man, how is Seattle up 18 right now? Like it's going to feel like a contested game, but one where Seattle always has control in.
I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm going to stick with Seattle here. I'm going to go 27-24. At the end, they kicked the game-winning field goal. I really think it's going to be a close one, but I'll take Seattle.
I guess I'm the odd one out here. I also think it's going to be close, but I'm going with the Patriots to have the massive upset 20-16. I think the Seahawks are going to make one or two fatal mistakes. The second half, New England's going to be safe, like they really have all year. Drake May's going to make the plays when it matters. He's not going to have that big turnover at the end of the game that I think Sam Darnold's going to have. I think the Patriots will win it.
We have one more segment for you guys, but before we say that, I just want to say that everyone I've heard on this podcast, outside of the podcast, wherever, has taken the Seahawks except for Julian, which kind of worries me as someone who thinks Seattle's going to win. Because a lot of the time when that happens, we've seen it time and time again, the team who's not picked comes out and just dominates. All right, we got one last segment for you guys. It's more just the overall Super Bowl, the experience, because we're big football fans in here, but I know a lot of the people watching the big game, they're watching it for the food, the snacks, the social event, and stuff like that. So what are you guys most looking forward to outside of the football on Sunday?
I'll go first. My mom makes this excellent dip. It's like chili with cheese. I honestly don't want to know what all goes into it because I want to continue to enjoy it. With Fritos, and it's the best. It's the best thing, the best meal of the entire year. It's so good, and it just gets me so pumped.
Nice.
Yeah, I think for me, just hanging out with my friends, my family, and watching the game, we're gonna be in my basement. The food's going to be going around. The overall experience of the Super Bowl is a lot of fun. And one thing I'll say, I think this Super Bowl halftime show with Bad Bunny is going to be a lot of fun. I don't really know any of his songs. I don't know what he's saying in his songs. But, man, it's a vibe. It's fun to listen to. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, you kind of stole that right. I was going to say pretty much exactly that. Can't wait to, go to your basement and have a good time and sorry, did not. We're going to pass around some food, and the halftime show, I really think it'll be good. Except for the commercials, too. Commercials are where it's
are great. They're so great.
Yeah, I was going to say the commercials. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I think that the commercials are going to be awesome. Every year there's a few that steal the show that even people that don't watch football can appreciate, great acting or a great marketing script. So I'm looking forward to that. Also the food, obviously.
Yeah, the food's the best.
Everyone
just
loves
everything about the Super Bowl.
It's just a great Sunday.
It's going to be a fun day, yeah.
All right, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Crimson Podcast. For Andrew Tropp, Julian Bonk, Jack Martin, I'm Ben Balian, and we'll talk to you soon.